What's going on, everyone? This is a breakdown of Zach and I doing a pregame for one of the high school games that we called during the football season in 2024. This was one of the first few games of the year. This was actually the first place that Zach and I called a game at during the first season we worked at the radio station. So it was great to be back here. Zach always came through clutch with the binoculars, because it was tough to see sometimes. We had some weird angles. We were further away from the field. The binoculars came in clutch. Sometimes I'd miss them during the gameplay, but pregame and during certain times it was good. Oh, let me shut up.
By the way, Zach, I'm going to key you in. I'm going to ask how you're feeling, and then I'm going to say in terms of game plan, both teams like to do two different things. That's where I think we can get into our interviews with Becker and with Coach Miller.
So right now, just going over with Zach about how I want this broadcast to go. Want to go over interviews and want to go over the nuggets that we got before the game and during the week. Now I'm taking some deep breaths, a little bit of prayer before the game. Deep breath 1, deep breath 2, and ready to go.
From Vermont Field in Dry, New York, it's high school football on X101 Always Classic Radio. Good evening, everyone. I'm Billy Bissell alongside Zach Wexler for Friday Night Lights. Firstly, Zach, how do you feel tonight?
Feeling pretty great. It was a very fall weather night as it's been starting to get cold, but we'll get to that later when you tell us about the weather.
This is an inside joke between me and his parents that I always love to do the weather.
Dryden Lions. The Wolverines are 4-1 overall, 1-0 in league play, while the Lions are 2-3 overall. This will be a battle of two different rosters. The Wolverines being a much older, more tenured team, while the Lions a much more younger squad. And in terms of game plan, both teams like to do two different things.
Man, I really love to talk with my hands.
Again, Waverly and Dryden, two very different teams. As when we were talking with the coach of Waverly, we were looking at their roster and really confused of why there were about 60 kids on it.
Yeah.
And he was explaining, no, that's just all of our teams put together. So thankfully, it's a lot shorter list than we were expecting.
We would have had a really long roster list if that was the case. With the
Zach doing a good job talking about my point about the roster size. Jinx.
They're only traveling with a select number of kids this time. JV played the night before. But yeah, both these offenses like to do two different things. We talked with Coach Miller before, and he said that they don't actually like to huddle up. They just like to get hand signals from the sideline and then break out into the play. And that was interesting to us.
Yeah.
I got a little tripped up there because I saw him pointing to the nugget, but that was completely on me.
The Bills is they had no huddle offense, also known as the key gun, where, as it says, they did not huddle really ever. So I feel like that's what they kind of go for. That's the vibe it was giving me.
That definitely, that's a good.
Zach, just the savant with the history. Bill, you got to shut up because we got to wrap things up a little bit. That's one thing that Zach did a really good job of, was keeping me in check, making sure that I wasn't going over the time or wasn't talking too much. I was staying somewhat concise because I can go off on tangents. So shout out to Zach for that.
Wolverines, they're in all pink with white pants with white numbers. So with that, before we get into the Dryden's offense, we'll take a quick break here. You're listening to X101 Always Classic, coverage sponsored by Guthrie. We'll be right back.
And I had to be really descriptive with the jerseys because this is radio, so no one can see. So you have to really be as detailed as you can with your commentary. Also, the Zach's parents love the fact that I always had to say sponsored by Guthrie every single time we mentioned Friday Night Lights. So thank you so much for watching, and talk to you later.